The smell hit Daniel Webb before anything else. Sweat, fear, and something chemical that made his eyes water. He had taken a wrong turn somewhere in the lower levels of Ramora Station, looking for a place to spend his station credits before they lost value. Now he stood at the entrance of something he wished he had never found at a slave auction. Aliens of various species sat in crude metal chairs, their eyes fixed on the raised platform at the center. A Kreth auctioneer, his gray skin marked with ritual scars, called out prices in a bored voice. On the platform, beings from a dozen worlds stood in chains, waiting to be sold. Daniel should have turned around. He had cargo to deliver. He had a schedule to keep. He had 100 reasons to walk away, but his feet carried him inside, that he found a spot near the back, telling himself he would only watch for a moment. The auction moved quickly. A muscular Torvaki went to a mining company. A pair of small Finari were purchased by a pleasure house. Daniel felt sick, but he could not look away. Then they brought out the last one, that she was Marithian. Daniel recognized the species from his time in the military. Pale blue skin, silver hair that fell past her shoulders, and eyes the color of deep violet. She was thin, too thin, and old scars marked her bare arms. She walked without resistance, her gaze fixed on nothing. Final item, the auctioneer announced. Marithian female, age unknown. Previous classification as empathic service worker. Current status, defective. A murmur passed through the crowd. This unit has not spoken in 7 years of ownership. Multiple previous owners have returned her as non-functional. Empathic abilities appear dormant or damaged. Selling as is, no guarantees. The starting bid was insultingly low. For a moment, no one responded. Then a Kreth in the front row raised his hand. Daniel recognized the emblems on his coat. Mining Overseer. The Kreth mining colonies were known throughout the galaxy for one thing. They worked their slaves to death. 100 credits. The Overseer called out. The auctioneer nodded. 100. Do I hear more? Silence. Daniel looked at the Marithian woman. She had not reacted to any of this. Her violet eyes remained empty, staring at something no one else could see. 7 years of silence. 7 years of being passed from owner to owner like broken equipment. Sold to 200. The word left Daniel's mouth before he could stop it. Every head in the room turned toward him. The Kreth Overseer's eyes narrowed. Human bids 200. Do I hear more? 250. The Overseer said, his voice flat. 300. Daniel did not know what he was doing. He had maybe 400 credits total. This was insane. The Overseer studied him for a long moment, then shrugged. Keep your broken toy, human. Sold to the human for 300 credits. Daniel paid with shaking hands. They gave him a control chip and a data file containing her service history. He threw the control chip in the nearest trash receptacle. A slave without a control chip was just a person. She followed him through the station without being told. He supposed that was what 7 years of slavery taught someone. Follow. Obey. Do not speak. His ship, Quiet Dawn, waited in Docking Bay 47. It was old but reliable, built for cargo runs through the outer territories. Daniel led her up the boarding ramp and into the main corridor. She flinched at every sound. The hum of the engines, the click of his boots on metal, the hiss of the airlock ceiling behind them. Daniel stopped outside a small cabin near the cargo bay. It had been meant for crew, but he had been running solo for years. The room was simple. A bed, a desk, a small bathroom attached. This is yours, he said. You can lock it from inside. No one will bother you. She did not respond, did not look at him, just stood there, waiting for orders that would not come. I am not your owner, Daniel said quietly. I bought your freedom, not you. When we reach the next station, you can go wherever you want. Until then, this is your space. You do not have to do anything. You do not have to be anything. Still nothing. Daniel sighed and stepped back. There is food in the galley. Eat when you are hungry. Sleep when you are tired. I will not disturb you. He walked away, leaving her standing in the doorway. That night, as Daniel sat in the cockpit plotting their course to Pelos Station, he heard something through the ship's quiet systems. A sound so small he almost missed it. Crying. Coming from her cabin, he sat very still, listening to 7 years of silence finally breaking. He did not go to her. Did not knock on her door. Did not try to fix what could not be fixed in a single night. He just let her cry. And somewhere in his chest, something that had been cold for a very long time began to feel warm again. 3 days passed before Daniel saw her eat. He had been leaving food outside her door. Simple things: bread, fruit, protein packs that were tasteless but nutritious. Every morning he would place a tray on the floor, knock once, and walk away. Every evening he would return to find the tray empty. She only ate when he was not watching. Daniel understood. Trust was not built in days. Not after 7 years of whatever she had survived. So he gave her what she needed most. Spaced out on the 5th day, he started talking to her through the door. "We are passing through the Keller Nebula today," he said, sitting with his back against the wall outside her cabin. "The sensors say it is mostly hydrogen gas, but when you look at it through the viewport, it glows pink and purple. Prettiest thing in this sector." No response. He had not expected one. "I grew up on Earth. Small town in a place called Montana. Lots of sky there. I used to think nothing could be bigger than the sky back home. Then I left the planet and realized how small everything really was." He talked for an hour. About his ship. About the cargo runs he made. About the strange foods he had tried on different stations. Meaningless things. Safe things. The next day, when he came to talk, the door was open a crack that he pretended not to notice. Just sat in his usual spot and talked about the time he accidentally delivered a crate of live animals to the wrong client. The creatures had escaped into the station's ventilation system and caused 3 days of chaos. He thought he heard something from inside the cabin. It might have been a breath. It might have been nothing. On the 10th day, she came out. Daniel was in the galley, heating up something that claimed to be beef stew. He heard soft footsteps behind him and forced himself not to turn around. Just kept stirring the pot like nothing unusual was happening. He set out 2 plates, 2 cups, 2 sets of utensils. When he finally sat down at the table, she was standing in the doorway. Watching him with those violet eyes, Daniel ate slowly. Did not look at her directly, just existed in the same space, asking nothing. After 5 minutes, she moved, crossed the galley in small, careful steps, sat at the far end of the table, as far from him as possible, while still being in the same room. He pushed a plate toward the middle of the table. She reached for it hesitantly, pulled it close, and began to eat. They finished the meal in silence. Daniel washed the dishes while she disappeared back to her cabin. But that night, her door stayed open. On day 12, Daniel gave her a datapad. Old model, but functional. He had loaded it with language programs, entertainment files, educational materials. "In case you get bored," he said, leaving it outside her door. The next morning, he found her in the common area, curled up in a chair, reading. The datapad showed a page of text in standard English. She was reading Earth literature. Daniel glanced at the title and felt something twist in his chest. Charlotte's Web. A story about friendship, about loyalty, about a small spider who saved her friend with nothing but words that he walked past without comment. But he could not stop thinking about it for the rest of the day. By the end of the 2nd week, she had started following him. Not closely. Always 10 steps behind, always ready to retreat. But when Daniel worked on the ship's systems, she was there. When he checked the cargo, she watched from distance. When he ran diagnostics on the engines, she stood in the doorway. He began explaining what he was doing, not asking her to help, just talking the way he always did. "This coupling needs replacing. It is old, and the seals are starting to leak. Should hold until we reach Pelos, but I will need to buy a new one there." He reached for a wrench. Before his fingers touched it, something appeared in his peripheral vision. She was holding the wrench out to him. Daniel took it carefully, making sure their hands did not touch. "Thank you." She nodded. Once. Small. Almost invisible. It was the first response she had ever given him. That night, after dinner, Daniel told her about Pelos Station. It was civilized, safe, well within Galactic Council jurisdiction. "When we arrive, you're free to go wherever you want. I can help you find transport to Marithian space, if that is what you wish. Or anywhere else. It is your choice." She looked at him for a long moment. Something moved behind her violet eyes. Fear, maybe, or something else. Then she stood up and walked to her cabin. Daniel sighed and began clearing the dishes, but when he passed her door later that night, he stopped. The door was not just opened, it was wide open, and she was sitting on her bed, watching the doorway, as if waiting for him to pass if she wanted him to know she was not hiding anymore. Daniel nodded to her and continued walking. Behind him, he thought he heard something that might have been a breath of relief, or maybe, just maybe, the beginning of trust. Pello's station gleamed against the black of space like a silver coin dropped in dark water. It was everything Ramora was not. Clean, orderly, safe. The Galactic Council maintained a heavy presence here, and their laws actually meant something. Daniel guided Quiet Dawn into docking Bay 19 and powered down the engines. They had arrived. The journey was over. Now came the hard part. "We are here," he told her. She was sitting in the co-pilot seat, a place she had started occupying somewhere during the third week. "I can contact the Marithian embassy. They will help you get home." She did not move, did not look at him, just stared at the station through the viewport. "Or," Daniel continued, "you can stay on the ship while I handle my business. Take some time to decide what you want to do." Still nothing. He stood up. "I need to meet my contact. I will be back in a few hours." Ren was waiting for him in a cargo warehouse near the commercial district. The Torvaki was old, his green scales faded to something closer to gray, but his eyes were still sharp. He and Daniel had been doing business for nearly a decade. "You look tired, my friend," Ren said, his forked tongue tasting the air. "The run was difficult." "The run was fine. I had an unexpected passenger." Daniel told him everything. The auction, the Marithian, the 3 weeks of silence and small progress. Ren listened without interrupting, his expression unreadable. "You bought a slave," Ren said finally. "A human bought a slave. I bought her freedom. Is that what you tell yourself?" Daniel felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. "She can leave whenever she wants. I have told her that. I mean it." Ren studied him for a long moment, then sighed. "You are either the kindest human I have ever met or the most foolish. Perhaps both." "What do you mean?" "There have been questions, Daniel. Kreth traders asking about a Marithian female purchased at the Ramor auction. They have been very specific in their inquiries. Very interested." Daniel felt cold spread through his stomach. "Who was asking?" "An overseer named Grell. Mining operations, officially, but everyone knows what he really does. He acquires problems, makes them disappear. Why would he care about one broken slave? That is the question, is it not?" Daniel returned to the ship faster than he had left. She was still in the co-pilot's seat, exactly where he had left her. As if she had not moved at all, he sat down across from her. "I need to ask you something. It is important." She turned her head slightly. "Listening. The Kreth who bid on you at the auction. Grell. He is looking for you." "Why?" For a long moment, she did not respond. Then she reached for the datapad she always kept nearby. Her fingers moved across the screen, typing slowly. She turned the datapad toward him. "They killed my family. I saw. They want no witnesses." Daniel read the words 3 times before they made sense. "Your family." She typed again. "My parents were diplomats. House of Distant Stars. Important people. The Kreth wanted our territory. They made it look like an accident. But you survived. I was 7. They took me. Kept me quiet. Sold me when I got older." Daniel felt sick. 7 years old. Watching her parents die. Then years of slavery, passed from owner to owner, kept silent by fear and trauma. Why did they not just kill you? Marithians cannot be killed secretly. Our death sends a psychic pulse. Other Marithians feel it. They would know. So they kept you alive. Made sure you could never testify. She nodded. The first time she had ever answered him with a gesture, Daniel leaned back in his seat. This was bigger than he had imagined. This was not just a broken slave. This was a survivor. A witness to what might have been an act of war. The Marithian government, he said slowly, if they knew you were alive, if they knew what you saw, the Kreth would face consequences. Serious consequences. War, maybe. That is why Grell wants you. Not because you are valuable. Because you're dangerous. She typed one more message. "I am sorry. I did not mean to bring trouble to you." Daniel shook his head. "You did not bring anything. I made a choice. I am not going to regret it now." That night, The Kreth came point three of them. Big, heavily armed, wearing the insignia of Grell's operation. They walked into docking Bay 19 like they owned it. Daniel met them at the bottom of the boarding ramp. Human, the leader said. We represent Overseer Grell. He wishes to make you an offer for your Marithian property. She is not property. Everything has a price. Grell offers 10 times what you paid. Generous, considering the merchandise is defective. Not interested. The Kreth stepped closer. This is not a negotiation. You are right. It is not. Daniel's hand rested on the weapon at his hip. Now get off my dock. The Kreth stared at him. Daniel stared back. Finally, the leader smiled. Humans do not live long in the outer territories. Remember that. They left. Daniel watched them until they disappeared around a corner. When he turned around, she was standing at the top of the ramp. Watching him, she walked down slowly, stopped in front of him, and for the first time since he had bought her freedom, she reached out and touched his arm. Her fingers were cold. Her hand trembled slightly, but she did not pull away. Neither did he. Quiet dawn slipped away from Pello's station in the dead of night, running without navigation beacons, without transponder signals, without anything that could be tracked. Daniel called it running dark. It was dangerous and illegal and absolutely necessary. Grell had resources, connections, friends in the Galactic Council who would look the other way while he hunted them down. The only safe place for her was Marithian space, where she could testify before her own people, where the truth could finally be told. The journey would take 2 months through uncharted territory. Daniel plotted a course through regions that did not appear on standard maps. Dead zones, empty spaces between star systems where pirates hid and patrol ships never ventured. It was risky, but it was better than the alternative. She did not ask where they were going. She did not question his decisions. She simply started helping Dot on the 3rd day. Daniel found her in the engine room, cleaning filters. On the 5th day, she was checking cargo straps. By the 2nd week, she had memorized every system on the ship and was running diagnostics without being asked. She was smart, capable. Everything her captors had claimed she was not. Daniel realized her silence had never been weakness. It had been survival. On the 18th night, Daniel woke screaming. The same nightmare. Always the same. The colony on Brennan's world. The orders coming through his comm unit. The sound of gunfire and the silence that followed. Faces of people who had trusted him to protect them. Dead because he had followed orders that he sat up in his bunk, shaking, covered in sweat. The darkness of his cabin pressed against him like a weight. Then he noticed the light under his door. She was sitting in the corridor outside. Waiting, Daniel opened the door. She looked up at him with those violet eyes. Not pity, not fear, just presence. He sat down beside her, his back against the wall. For a long time, neither of them moved. I was military, Daniel said finally. His voice sounded strange in the quiet. 12 years ago, there was a colony that refused to follow council orders. They said the orders were unjust. Maybe they were right. She listened. My unit was sent to pacify them. That is what they called it. Pacification. We were told there would be resistance. Weapons. Fighters. There was nothing. Just farmers. Families. He closed his eyes. I followed orders. We all did. And when it was over, I could not remember why. When he opened his eyes, she had moved closer. Not touching. Just near. She reached for her datapad and typed slowly, "You carry guilt." I feel it. Daniel blinked. You can feel that. My abilities, they are returning. Slowly. Being near you helps. What? You do not want anything from me. And no one has ever wanted nothing before. Daniel laughed. It was a broken sound. I'm not a good man. I have done terrible things. She typed again. Good men do not think they are good. They only try to be better. Something cracked inside Daniel's chest. Something he had kept locked away for 12 years. They sat in the corridor until the ship's lights brightened for artificial morning. Then they got up and went back to work as if nothing had happened. But something had on day 34. The pirates found them point 3 ships, emerging from the shadow of a dead moon. Small, fast, hungry. They had been waiting in the dark, scanning for easy targets. Daniel ran. Quiet Dawn was not built for speed, but she was tough. Daniel pushed the engines past their safety limits. dodging through asteroid fields, using every trick he had learned in 20 years of flying. It was not enough. The lead pirate ship got a shot through. The hit shook Quiet Dawn hard enough to throw Daniel from his seat. Warning lights screamed. Hull breach in the lower cargo bay. Engines failing. He managed to return fire. One lucky shot caught the lead pirate's fuel line. The ship exploded, and the other two fell back, deciding the cargo was not worth the risk, but the damage was done. Daniel stumbled through the ship, checking systems. He found her in the cargo bay, already sealing the breach with emergency foam, working calmly, efficiently, as if she had done this 100 times before. "Nice work," he said. She pointed at his arm. He looked down and saw blood. A piece of shrapnel had cut him during the attack. He had not even noticed. She took his arm and led him to the medical bay. Cleaned the wound, applied sealant, wrapped in bandages. Her hands were steady and sure. "Where did you learn this?" Daniel asked. She typed on her datapad that my mother was a healer. "She taught me before they came." There was pain in those words. Old pain, carefully buried. Daniel reached out and took her hand. She flinched but did not pull away. "I am sorry," he said, "for everything that happened to you." She typed with one hand, her other still holding his dot. "You did not hurt me. You saved me. I bought you at an auction. You set me free." There is a difference. That night, while Daniel rested and his wound healed, she flew the ship. He watched her through half-closed eyes, sitting in the captain's chair, her hands moving across the controls with quiet confidence. She had never been broken. She had been waiting, and somehow, against all odds, she had found someone worth waiting for. The abandoned station floated at the edge of Marithian space, like a forgotten grave marker. It had been a trading post once, decades ago, before the routes shifted and the merchants moved on. Now it was nothing but empty corridors and dead systems, perfect for hiding. Daniel brought Quiet Dawn in slowly, docking at a port that had not seen a ship in years. They needed repairs. The pirate attack had damaged more systems than he had first realized. A few more days, and they would cross into Marithian territory. A few more days, and she would be safe. She would be home. They worked together in comfortable silence, patching damaged circuits and replacing burned-out components. Daniel caught himself watching her sometimes. The way she moved, so careful and precise. The way her silver hair caught the light from the emergency lamps. She caught him watching and did not look away. Something had changed between them. Daniel did not know when it had happened. Maybe in the corridor that night, when he had told her about Brennan's world. Maybe when she had bandaged his wound. Maybe it had been happening slowly, piece by piece, since the moment he had thrown that control chip in the trash. That it did not matter when. It only mattered that it was real. "When we reach Marithian space," Daniel said, breaking the silence, "your people will want answers. About what happened to your family. About where you have been." She nodded, her hands still working on a damaged relay. "You can testify before the council. Tell them everything. They will have to investigate." Another nod, and then you will be free. Really free. You can go home. Back to your house, your family's position. Everything you lost. She stopped working. Her violet eyes found his. Daniel forced himself to continue. "It is what you deserve. A real life. Not this." He gestured at the cramped engine room, the old ship, the endless dark of space beyond the hull. She reached for her datapad. Her fingers hesitated over the keys. Then she set it down without typing anything. That night, the Kreth found them. The first warning was the sound of cutting torches on the outer airlock. Daniel grabbed his weapon and ran for the corridor. She was right behind him. "Get to the cockpit," Daniel ordered. "Start the engines." She did not move. "Go," but it was too late. The airlock burst open, and Kreth's soldiers poured in. 6 of them. 8. Too many. Daniel fired, took down 2, but the others were already surrounding them, but a heavy blow knocked the weapon from his hand. Another drove him to his knees. He fought, but there were too many. They pinned him to the floor, a boot pressing against his throat. Then Grell walked in. The overseer looked exactly like Daniel had imagined. Cold eyes, a smile that never reached them. He moved through the corridor like he owned it, stepping over the bodies of his fallen soldiers without a glance. The human, Grell said. I warned you about interfering. Humans never listen. Let her go, Daniel gasped. She is nothing to you. She is everything to me. A witness to crimes that must never be spoken. A loose thread that could unravel years of careful work. Grell turned to look at her. 7 years of silence, and you still could not simply disappear. Inconvenient. He pulled something from his belt. A small device, shaped like a pen, glowing with cruel light. Neural disruptor. It will not kill you. Merithian death is too loud, but it will burn away everything that makes you who you are. No mimities. No testimony. No threat. Daniel struggled against the soldiers holding him. No, take me instead. Kill me. Just let her go. Grell laughed. Humans. So emotional. So useless. He stepped toward her, the disruptor raised. She had not moved, had not tried to run or fight. She stood perfectly still, her violet eyes fixed on Daniel's face, and then she opened her mouth. His name is Daniel. Every creth in the room froze. Grell's hand stopped inches from her face. Her voice was rough, unused, but clear as starlight. And he is not alone. Power exploded outward from her like a silent bomb. Daniel felt it wash over him, warm and bright, but the creth screamed. 7 years of pain and fear and loss, channeled through her returning abilities, slammed into their minds like a hammer. They collapsed. Every one of them. Even Grell, clutching his head, blood streaming from his nose. Daniel broke free. Grabbed his weapon. Grabbed her hand. They ran down the corridor. Through the airlock. Into quiet dawn. Daniel sealed the hatch and threw himself into the pilot's seat. The engines roared to life, and the old ship tore away from the station, leaving the creth writhing on the floor behind them. When they were clear, when the station was nothing but a dot on the sensors, Daniel finally allowed himself to breathe. He turned to look at her. She was sitting in the co-pilot's seat, shaking, tears streaming down her blue cheeks. But she was looking at him, and there was something in her eyes that had not been there before. You spoke, Daniel whispered. She nodded. Her voice came again, thin and fragile. Thank you, she said, for waiting. Daniel reached over and took her hand. This time, neither of them let go. Thank you, he replied, for trusting me. The Merithian homeworld was a planet of soft colors and gentle light. Blue forests stretched across continents. Cities of silver and glass rose from valleys filled with mist. It looked like a dream made solid. Celia stood at the viewport of quiet dawn, watching her world grow larger. Daniel stood beside her, keeping a careful distance. 3 months had passed since her first words. 3 months since the escape from Grell. In that time, she had learned to speak again, slowly at first, then with growing confidence. Her voice was soft, musical, touched with an accent Daniel had come to love. Her name was Celia. Celia of the House of Distant Stars, daughter of diplomats, survivor of massacre. And now, after 7 years of silence, she had come home. The Merithian government had sent ships to escort them the moment they crossed the border. They had welcomed Celia like a lost treasure returned. Healers attended her. Officials interviewed her. Lawyers prepared her testimony. The Galactic Council trial lasted 2 weeks. Celia spoke before representatives of 100 worlds, her voice clear and steady. She told them everything. The attack on her family, the years of captivity, the faces of the men who had murdered her parents and sold her into slavery. Grell was arrested. His operations were shut down. The Kreth Dominion faced sanctions that would cripple their expansion for decades. Justice after 7 years. It should have felt like victory. Instead, Daniel stood in the docking bay of Merithian Prime, preparing his ship for departure. You are leaving. He turned. Celia stood at the bottom of the boarding ramp, wearing robes of silver that marked her return status. She looked like a princess from one of those Earth fairy tales, beautiful and distant and completely out of his reach. My job is done, Daniel said. You are safe. You are home. You have your life back. She climbed the ramp slowly. And what about your life? Same as always. Cargo runs. Empty space. Nothing exciting. Nothing. Daniel could not meet her eyes. You have been offered your family's position. Ambassador to the council. Your own estate. Everything you lost. That is not nothing. No, Celia agreed. It is not. She stopped in front of him, close enough to touch. He kept his hands at his sides. They offered me everything, she said. Position, power, purpose. I could rebuild my family's legacy. I could spend my life in halls of crystal, speaking for my people. You should take it. You deserve it. I refused. Daniel's head snapped up. What? Celia's violet eyes were soft, but there was iron beneath them. I spent 7 years being silent, being nothing, being owned. Then a strange human bought me in an auction and threw away the chip that controlled me. Celia, he left food outside my door. He talked to me through walls. He told me I was free and meant it. When soldiers came for me, he stood between them and me with nothing but a gun and his stubborn human heart. She reached up and touched his face. Her fingers were warm now. Steady. I spoke my first words in 7 years to save him. Those words broke my silence forever. Do you know what that means to a Marithian? Daniel shook his head. We believe that our voices are our souls made sound. When I lost my voice, I lost myself. When I spoke to save you, I found myself again. You gave me back my soul, Daniel Webb. How can I repay that? By letting you walk away. You do not owe me anything. This is not about debt. This is about choice. She took his hand, the way she had on the night they escaped. I have been offered everything I lost, but home is not a place. I learned that in 7 years of silence. She stepped closer. Home is where someone leaves food outside your door and never asks for anything back. Home is where someone talks through walls just to let you know you are not alone. Home is where someone fights for you when the smart thing would be to run. Daniel felt something crack in his chest, something he had kept locked away since Brennan's world, since the day he decided he did not deserve good things. Celia, I am not a good man. I have done terrible things. Good men do not think they are good, she said, echoing her own words from months ago. They only try to be better. You have been trying since the day I met you. She pulled his hand toward the ship, toward the cockpit, toward the stars. Take me with you. Where? Everywhere. She smiled, the first real smile he had ever seen from her. Bright as starlight, warm as summer on Earth. I have seen enough silence. I want to see what the universe looks like when you are free to explore it. Daniel looked at their joined hands, at her face, at the ship that had been his lonely home for so many years. He thought about cargo runs and empty space and nights spent alone with his nightmares. Then he thought about food left outside doors, about conversations through walls, about a voice breaking 7 years of silence to say his name. Okay, he said. Okay. He smiled back at her. It felt strange on his face. He had not smiled like this in a very long time. Let us go everywhere. An hour later, quiet dawn lifted off from Marithian Prime. The silver city shrank below them. The blue forest became patches of color on a marble sphere. Then the stars appeared, endless and bright. Celia sat in the co-pilot seat. Daniel sat beside her. Their hands rested on the console between them, fingers intertwined. Where do we go now? She asked. Daniel looked at the navigation chart. 1,000 systems, 10,000 worlds, a universe full of wonder and danger and possibility. Wherever we want, he said. Celia leaned her head against his shoulder. Her silver hair caught the starlight. Then let us go everywhere, she whispered. Quiet dawn jumped to light speed, carrying 2 broken people toward a future neither had dared to imagine. Behind them, the Marithian homeworld disappeared into the dark. Ahead, the universe waited, and for the first time in 7 years, the silence was filled with hope.